As you know, Bernie Sanders yesterday, it was announced that he had some blockage in some arteries, I guess, and went in, got a couple of stents. I think he's out of the hospital now. I don't know if it's been announced yet. They're probably keeping him in there to rest for another day. But this turns out to be a fairly typical thing. I guess I'm looking forward to mine. I've been reading about these things where sometimes they do a preventative angioplasty that involves a catheter, like stuff I don't even want to think about. But I'm closer to that than I am further away from it, if you know what I'm saying. And but apparently, people are up and at 'em, working very quickly, and it's quite possible Bernie Sanders will have actually even more energy. Well, maybe we'll talk with Eric Levitz about this later, or maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow on the show as to what the implications will be on the race. But if anything, I think it's going to be problematic, believe it or not, for Joe Biden, because Bernie Sanders, I think he has the ability to come back in a week, 2 weeks, be as strong as ever. The problem is now that people are thinking like, hey, wait, what's going on with age? And why is Joe Biden can't string together a sentence? And why is he so lackluster? But who knows? Meanwhile, Sanders writes yesterday on Twitter, thanks for all the well wishes. I'm feeling good. I'm fortunate to have good health care and great doctors and nurses helping me to recover. None of us know when a medical emergency might affect us. No one should fear going bankrupt if it occurs. Medicare for all. Well, the Fox and Friends guys were very, very concerned about Bernie Sanders. And so they decided to bring Dr. Oz on. Now, Dr. Oz, is he a real doctor? I guess he must be, right?
Yeah.
And does he still have a show?
I think so,
Yes.
yeah. He got his medical license from the School of Oprah.
You got to see, he graduated from Oprah Medical School. And here's Dr. Oz, they bring it on. And gosh, don't you hate it when you bring a guest on and they say stuff you don't really want to talk about because it's completely inconsistent with the propaganda you've been pushing on your network for years. Well, Brian Kilmeade had one of those mornings.
Bernie sent out a tweet, I believe, overnight where he talked about thank you for the support. He's lucky he had good health care, and then made it a plug for Medicare for all.
Well, it does help that you have Medicare. I argued with Senator Sanders about more than Medicare for all, which is the programs he's offering. It's worth having that debate. I just want to make sure our candidates are healthy and where they need to be emotionally to do it. It does take a big burden off people's hearts. And actually, half of the doctors in America want Medicare for all.
Dr. Oz,
that's the crisis we have.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But on Bernie Sanders specifically, if he's your patient and he's recovering well, when's he back on the stump going full bore, or is it a graduation?
Well, I think in about a week he can resume activities pretty aggressively, and maybe another week to get to full speed.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I'm sorry. Medicare for wait, that's for another never day that we will have when we talk about half the doctors in America want Medicare for all.
Wait, so you're saying there's a 50-50 chance my doctor is a communist?
It's very possible that right now, as you know, you may not be aware of it, but you may have a socialist treating you. And then the other half, that doesn't mean the other half wants absolutely no expansion of our healthcare as it is. 50% is probably not just a majority, or, I don't know if it's 50% or 49%, but I would bet it's a plurality of what doctors want in this country in terms of healthcare. And, make no mistake about it, it's going to be a long road to get there, regardless of who is elected president. And we will have more to say about that in just a moment when we talk to Eric Levitz about this Warren Sanders debate.